And I think what we'll do now is that, without messing about too much anymore, we will move on to our first speaker of the day, which is Paula Sands, who's going to be talking about Covidence and Rayyan. I have to confess that I was only vaguely aware of Rayyan until a couple of weeks ago. Then a student was asking me about it, and I thought, this is really great, because we've got this session from Paula coming up on it. So that is really good timing as far as I'm concerned. Just bit of brief background. Paula's an academic engagement librarian at the University of Southampton, and she's been supporting the Faculty of Medicine as part of the team of Health Services Library for 8 years or so. She says she's terrified to admit that she's been working in and around NHS library for 26 years. Paula, that just makes you a whippersnapper. You're only just in the door as far as I'm yeah, she started her NHS library career in Chichester in 1995. Her current role encompasses delivering training for literature search strategies for systematic reviews, including the reference management software, EndNote, encouraged use of Rayan for screening as part of this. Paula is also part of a wider team to promote open access and best practice for research data management across the university. So I'll hand over to you now, Paula, and we're really looking forward to what you have to say.
Thank you very much. Just bear with me as I get my slideshow presenter up. So when Rick asked me to give a presentation about Rayan, I was very nervous to do so, because I have to say I am not an expert in it, but I do actively encourage anyone who's doing a systematic review to use it, and I have to admit that I am a Rayan fan. Hopefully I will inspire you and encourage you to be using Rayan or mentioning Rayan to any colleagues who you encounter who don't have access to an alternative product, which is called Covidence, and I'm going to talk a little bit about both of those. So where does this sit in our systematic review offer? Well, it comes down at the bottom level, and I've said there about introductory guidance. So that's what I endeavour to deliver. Bear with me just a moment. I have got the thing straight across my screen. That's better. I endeavour to give introductory guidance, but I will come back to it later. You do often end up having to give a little bit more than just an introduction. So our offer to university colleagues at the University of Southampton is pre-pandemic. We were giving group training, which staff and PhD students could sign up for on literature search methodology. This would be about a 2.5 to 3 hour course. Then COVID hit, and then we had to deliver the session online. So it is a temporary solution, and we are looking to change it again, I think, for the next academic year, as we're not sure how we're going to be moving forward. And I have put a link into a 10-step roadmap at the end of the presentation. We've also created, and this was my colleague Vicky's brilliant idea, a team site for systematic reviews sharing best practice. So anyone within the university and actually outside of it can sign up to our team site. So anybody kind of affiliated to the university in any way, they can sign up to our team site and they can ask questions. And it's really so that we can share information with each other. And somebody might say, oh yes, I've been doing that, and have you tried this? And so it's just a community of practice to share, which has been really, really good. So continuing our desk side training online, and we offer peer review of search strategies as part of our offer, as well as reference management using software such as EndNote. That's what the university kind of promotes. And then, as I say, screening software is introductory guidance, but it often becomes a little bit more than that. So the screening process may also be called study selection or filtering. And before the screening software became available, the options that we would suggest would either be using Excel, an Excel spreadsheet, which was fairly easy to share with colleagues, or using EndNote. But both products do have problems. And when people get to the screening stage, certainly the person who's been conducting the literature search, as I'm sure most of you will be aware of, when they get to the screening stage, they want to make their life as simple as possible at that point, because they may have had a long slog to get to their final search results. Okay. I was delighted to see in Isla's and colleagues' article that Rayan came out quite highly, and I hope I'm not misrepresenting the data here, as well as Covidence, as a product that they then went further ahead to explore. So I've already said to you, I am a Rayan fan. I used to promote Covidence pre sort of the payment system, and really my bias comes because Rayan is available freely to everybody as a screening tool. Now I will say to you that Covidence does offer a little bit more, and I will come on to that in just a moment. So Covidence was established in 2014, and the following year a partnership with the Cochrane collaboration began, and this is when I was first introduced to the product Covidence myself by a doctor working on a systematic review. So the screenshot that you can see there is from a demo mode of Covidence. Covidence allows you a free trial, and they offer a free 101 webinar as well. So I actually attended one earlier in the week, one evening this week. So there is lots of support out there. My first encounter, as I was saying, was with this particular doctor, and her question was, how do I import my references that I have found, my citations from my literature searches, into Covidence? And that's quite often where, as library staff, you will be asked to intervene between the products. You know, you've helped me with the search strategy. I now need to get these results into something else so that I can enable screening with colleagues. And I think there is a role for us here. So I'm delighted to say that there are some excellent LibGuides around, and this is a link to one for the University of North Carolina Health Services Library. They have lots of help here, and like other products, so like Rayan, you can import references in many formats, including from McRae and EndNote and others. So if you ever wanted to find out more about Covidence, I would highly recommend this site. So what can you do with Covidence? Well, as I was saying, it's more than just a screening tool, and it will take you through the whole systematic review process. So it is free to anybody who's doing a Cochrane review. So if you're part of a Cochrane review, you will automatically have access to Covidence. If you're not part of that group, then you do have to pay for access. So as I was saying, it will take you through the whole process, from screening to data extraction to the full text, and then populating the risk of bias text as well. So this is quite important. And then when you get to the end, if you need to create a meta-analysis or a graphic representation of the data, it can be exported into RevMan. So you can see that this product does have a lot more, but the cost implication actually is a hindrance to why many colleagues I encounter wouldn't consider using the product in the first place. When I first explored Covidence, the trial actually enabled 2 people with multiple references. I don't think there was a limit to the references that you could import. Since the payment structure has changed, there is now a limit to 500 references only. So it is very much a trial. It'd be very unusual to have a systematic review where you're only screening 5 references at all. And I was interested to learn at the 101 webinar that I attended that although you may allocate more than 2 reviewers, so there could be a group of 6 of you, only 2 of you will screen one particular record at a time, and that's quite different in the Rayan product. Just a shout out for another library guide here, really. So some institutions are fortunate enough to have institutional access to Covidence, and this is another library guide from our colleagues at the University of South Australia that is worth having a look at to give you a very good overview if you wanted to explore a bit further. I think we have colleagues from Imperial on the line as well, so if any of you have any Covidence specific questions that you may like to ask or find out how they may or may not be involved with the Covidence product from the library point of view, then they will be able to enlighten you. So Rayan, So it's developed about the same time as Covidence by Qatar Computing Research Institute. And this tool is completely free, and it has a beautiful thing that, as you can see, it is available from the desktop and on mobile devices as well. And so the ProductCam, your screening will be synced as you go along. This actually has quite a big attraction to time-stretched people who think, well, whilst I'm in a queue, I could be doing a little bit of screening. I used to say to people, well, if you're traveling on a bus or on a plane, then it could be a good time to do it, but we're not maybe doing as much of that at the moment. So this home screen for Rayan has been updated fairly recently because a partnership has been developed with the original team and a US team for Rayan systems. So they are about to invest some more money, although I noticed when you go to the login screen, that hasn't yet changed. But over the next few slides, I will hopefully demonstrate that Rayan may be a screening tool that you can bring to the attention of your colleagues for working on systematic reviews if they don't have access to funding or for Covidence. So once you have created your login, you then select new review. And when you upload your references, you will see some excellent migration guides. And I've actually copied the URLs from the migration guides there for EndNote, Desktop, Mendeley, etc., and put them at the end of the presentation because they are foolproof guides. So what I would recommend is that before you upload your references to Rayan, that you use something else to detect the duplicates first. So Rayan will detect duplicates for you. However, it is a very manual process. So I'd recommend importing your database results into a reference manager like EndNote. Remove the duplicates. I know that EndNote isn't perfect for doing that. And key point to remember, keep a track on your top level results so that you've got that for your Prisma flow diagram. And then you can do your second load of duplicate detection in Rayan if required. So this is the screen that you'll see once you've uploaded your references, and you can see that I have uploaded here 7,833 references, and I click on a button to say detect duplicates. And as I was saying, it is a manual process. So you will say resolve the duplicates, and you'll see that they'll be managed into different sections. So you'll be saying delete or keep, this isn't a duplicate. And then once you've gone through that process, you'll be adding them into leaving them in your group for you to do your screening with. But before you get to the point of starting to screen, you can invite your colleagues to join you. So once you've got to the login screen, and your review has been created within Rayan, you can then invite as many colleagues as you wish, I believe. They can be anywhere around the world, so it's not institutionally limited. And you can invite them to different levels. So it could be, if they're a collaborator, then they can do everything on the review except deleting or inviting others. They can be a translator, which basically means they're translating text for you, or they can just be a viewer, so somebody you want to go in and have a look. Now, the person who creates the review will have the privilege to be able to unblind the review once you've been making your choices. So initially, you keep the review blinded to each other. You're not looking at each other's selections, and it's only the person who created the review within the Rayan software who can unblind. So this is a process that you go through. You actually click on the title of the reference, and then the abstract will be displayed below, and then you go through the process of selecting include, maybe, or excluding, and you can give labels and reasons for why you would want to be doing this. So you can see in the top kind of screen here where I have said, yes, I'm going to add that to my include, and where I'm going to exclude these records. And the beauty of this is it's all managed automatically. And when you've got through the end of the process, you can then export the results back out if you need to. So this is when you're looking at exporting your results. You've gone through your review, you select the group you want to export. So here I've selected, I beg your pardon, included, and then I have gone over to export, and then it gives me some options of how I want to export them. So what you might be doing here is you may export the maybes, and you may put them back into a different Rayyan library, and it could be that you ask some other screeners to look at them, or it might be that you just have a meeting and you decide which ones that you're going to be keeping and looking at the notes that have been created there. So our colleagues at McGill in Canada have an excellent Rayyan guide. I would certainly recommend that you look at it. Now, I recommend this to anybody as well, but I have to chuckle because they do have a big box there that says Rayyan support requests from researchers outside of McGill that they can't help them. So I'm hoping I haven't been feeding them getting requests from my colleagues by me promoting the website, which is supposed to be to help themselves and not contact colleagues at McGill about how to use the Rayyan software. So to sum up, my role I really see is raising awareness of tools and giving some basic guidance. So as I say, I first encountered Covidence when a doctor here said to me, I've got my literature research results, how do I now get those from the database into Covidence or Rayyan? Please be aware that if you do raise awareness, that you will often have to give more support than you initially thought you would. So I look at the Rayyan guides that they supply, which are listed at the end here, and I think it is very straightforward. It clearly says how to export the results and in which format from your EndNote library. You create a text file and you use the reference style called EndNote export, and then you import that file into Rayyan. But it's amazing how many people find that quite a difficult thing to do. So I have helped quite a few people through that particular part of the process, and sometimes help them export them back out again. What I can tell you is anecdotally that my colleagues absolutely love Rayyan. Most people who I've introduced it to, they do love it, and lots of people seem to be using it across the faculty. And I just say, why would you go back to what we had before, which would have been either using possibly creating groups in EndNote or using an Excel spreadsheet? So I have a couple of references here and some useful links, and I wonder if you have any questions at all.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really, really interesting. Lots for me to think about there. I think our intention had been to take questions at the end, but maybe we can just do some questions now, because we're a bit ahead of time. I think yes. We're going to have Hannah was due to start at 2 o'clock. So, Paula, are you maybe happy to take any questions at the moment then?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Caroline, you've been monitoring the chat. Are there any questions that have been popped into the chat while Paula was doing her presentation?
Bear with me, I'm trying to get my screen back. I can see what's going on.
Yeah, sorry, Ian. There was a question from Keith, I believe, around data security and the use of Rayan because of cloud storage. Just wondered if anyone would like to comment on that.
I have seen some information about that, actually. I could get back to you with more details. So it depends on the nature of you being worried about the data being stored. What was your concern, Keith? Because it's not confidential data. What was your issue? What were you worried about it going missing, or?
My colleague who works more with researchers at the University of Boycott, Leicester, which is where we're both based, reminds me, you can look that up afterwards if you want to know why I said that, reminds me that our researchers are not supposed to use off-site storage to store their research data. So I think it's not so much a confidentiality thing. That using storage outside of Office 365 and outside the university is what it is.
Oh, so I work with the research data team here at the University of Southampton as well, and this isn't research data per se, I would say. This is, so research data would be your output. So this is a different type of data. So you're just using, this is screening software, and what you're importing into your screening software are your bibliographic records from your database searches. There is no issue. This isn't research data. This hasn't got human information, participants information, or anything like that. Your research data would be the thing that you might find confidential, that you don't want to be made available until you publish, is the kind of the data extraction and things that you're going to be doing. But I have absolutely no issue with this being stored outside of the university at all. I think it's completely fine. I think it's research data is in a completely different context in this environment.
Well, that's useful. She and I can have a chat about that. I've used it, as I said in the chat, with a project that involves people from all sorts of institutions. I rather like it, actually. I think it works nicely. And, it can be used. You know, there's no issues about all the people on the project accessing it. So that's useful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. I've seen a couple of other comments going through. Caroline, were there any other previous ones?
I think there's lots of helpful links to guides that people have been using, helpful comments about the ways that they found it helpful with their research communities going on. There's a comment around the big plus is clearly being able to blind the sorting. Are there any other major bonuses beyond what EndNote can offer? And that's from Rayan.
I would say really that it is much easier to share, but that's just my personal opinion. I know sharing within EndNote is much easier these days, but going back to when Rayan and Covidence were first developed, I would say it wasn't quite as easy to share within those tools. I believe that it is the blinding, and the fact with Rayan, definitely the fact that you have a mobile app that you can use. So when you're on the move, you don't have to be actually at your desktop, you can be anywhere. I think that just makes the whole process a lot slicker as well.
Okay, thank you. Paula, there's a request to you to tell us a bit more about the Southampton Teams site that you set up.
Well, that was a brainwave of my colleague Vicky, who I believe is here in the audience. So she has set up the team site, and it was an idea that to get the conversation going, that anybody who may come to our drop-in sessions, our Q&A sessions, and they can just post a question there, and often before Vicky and I can have time to intervene, another researcher will say, oh, have you seen this? And it's just a great way to build community. So Vicky and I every couple of weeks post something to say, oh, have you seen this article, or are you aware of this development? But then they can come in and ask questions as well. And it just kind of brings a little bit of a community. And certainly at the moment, when people aren't seeing each other in person, just the fact that they feel that they can pop a question in there and somebody will get back to them, it kind of brings us all together a little bit more. Don't know if that answered what you wanted. If you want to email me, I will pass it on to Vicky, who can give you a little bit more detail if you want, because we did have to, so Teams is our, University of Southampton, so it's very easy for our University of Southampton colleagues to have a link to get in, but we did then have to add some colleagues who had associations with the university, but they were very much in the NHS. And in research groups working with our research university colleagues. So we wanted to bring them in as well to be part of the picture, because we're all working towards the same goal ultimately.
Ian, have we got time for just one more question?
No, I think we can manage one more, yes.
Great. So another one for you, Paula, about how did you gather the community in the first instance? How did you go about getting those people involved in the community?
So that was very much through the university. So we advertise through Staff Book and Grad Book, which are our university training courses, are question and answer sessions. So we've been doing this pre-COVID, as I was saying. We were doing group sessions that people could book on and come together. Post that, we have been doing this 10-step roadmap where they had to work their way through a library guide with some videos in there and then come to a drop-in question and answer session. But they had to, well, we said it was drop-in, they could if they wanted to, but they did actually have to, they were supposed to book through our graduate school or through our staff training system. And that's how we captured them initially. And then the word spread. So that's how we ended up with colleagues from outside of the university who were saying, oh, my colleague told me about this and I would like to be part of that, please. And Vicky said, yes, of course you can. We work out a way how we can enable that to happen.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you. That was a brilliant presentation, Paula. I really appreciate that. I should have said the original intention was to go straight into the next presentation, and that we're going to have a panel after the...
I beg your pardon, I did not know.
That's all right, yes, no, bad chairmanship on my part, absolutely. But I believe you have been, you will help out with it, because there have been a few more comments and questions, so we can deal with them at the panel. That would be great, brilliant. But in the meantime, yes, lots of virtual applause for you, and that was much appreciated. Thank you very much, Paula.